Welcome back to another media day. I'll just open it up.
Jeff, your just overall opinions on the state of the Magic heading into this time of year.
Obviously, I always say, this time of year, every team is excited about their prospects. Whether you're going through a rebuild or kind of really competing for a championship, whatever your kind of line of attack is, you're excited today. For us, I've never been more excited since I've been here personally. I feel that we have a team that's capable of accomplishing big things. Everyone has come in with the right mindset. Everyone's together, and the vibe in the building has been really exceptional the last couple of weeks.
There's been a lot of conversation about a quote-unquote weaker East this year. How do you view the East, and where do you guys think you fit in with that?
Yeah, it's a great question because obviously, a lot of notable players have suffered injuries. But it's a league of injuries, and we've been unfortunately, we've contributed to those, over the years. So I think that, that's constantly shifting. I don't look at, when I think about like the landscape of a conference or a division, I don't look at like a year to year. I look at the long range prospects of where each team is heading, what they're trying to build. And I think the East is really strong. I think that there are a lot of teams that are, about to pop, and hopefully we're one of them. So I look past this wave of injuries, and I just hope that we don't contribute to that. That's all. And obviously, that's going to shift every year. Then one team is injured this year and healthy the next, and that honestly is a big determinant of who's on that lottery podium at the end of the season each year. So I think the East is very well positioned to be deep and strong for years to come, and hopefully we're part of that.
Jalen and Mo coming off of those knee surgeries. What do you expect from them going into training camp? Do you think they can play October 22nd? And if not, then how much longer down the path could they be?
Yep. Obviously, two different injuries, different players, and different timetables. So, Jalen, we kind of have said all along that, it's a long way off to start to set goals, but, we've targeted opening day for him, and, there's still a long way to go before we get there, but he's worked really hard. He's made a lot of progress. He's in an incredible mind space, and I think that, he'll be a participant in whatever parts of training camp Arnie deems, and through that we'll remain targeting opening day, and hopefully that we'll remain hopeful that becomes available to him, and if not, somewhere right around there. Mo's timeline is obviously different. He's further away. I think you guys know that there have been unfortunately a series of ACLs in the last decade of the NBA, and like the associated timeline with that. But you guys also know Mo Wagner, and so he's not your normal guy, and so he's attacking it, and we're hopeful that he can beat that timeline, and what that looks like exactly, I think it's too soon to say. I don't know what you mean by a partial return to activity, but I think what our hope is to ramp him up in training camp, and we'll see kind of as he stacks the days if he's feeling, and if Arnie's feeling, and our medical staff is feeling that he's ready to kind of get on the court for preseason games. Obviously, if he's going to play in the opening game, you would hope that he would get in a preseason game. But I think like that's. I think even having that discussion kind of gives you the window a little bit into how we're looking at his timeline.
You mentioned the anticipation that you feel around this building for this season. How do you manage like kind of holding this team to the standard of what you think this team can accomplish while still giving it's still a very young team room to kind of grow and learn how to play at this higher level that you're anticipating?
Yeah, that's a great question, Philip, because I think like even veteran teams, internal growth is always a big part of the math. But there's a big difference of a 28-year-old who's coming back 29 and a 22-year-old who's coming back when he's 23. And that's why, we have such high hopes for this group, not just this year, but going forward, because we are so young. And part of the youth is exactly what you're alluding to. How do you handle the expectations? How do you handle all these pats on the back? I mean, I handle them like this, but it's a young group, and I think that they have to process all that stuff together. I think our coaches have done an amazing job messaging that we haven't earned anything, we haven't done anything yet. I think our players know that. They know that everything that they get has to be earned, and I think that the addition of our two veterans this year will only help kind of spread that message. And not just the message. The message is one thing, but really, how do you work every day? How do you work every practice? Do you hold one another accountable? So when you really break it down, that's what it comes down to, and hopefully we're in a good place to tackle that, because it's a great question.
Jeff, a couple coaching acquisitions this summer. Joe
Yep.
Prunty, God Shamgod. What kind of expertise, experience do those guys bring to the staff?
I mean, both very different guys. I think you guys will hopefully get the chance to ask Coach Mose about those guys, and he'll be able to shed his insight into why they were the guys to add to our staff. But Coach Prunty is a very kind of even-keeled, experienced, smart, offensive-minded coach, and I think that his value's already been felt. Shamgod is a guy who, if you guys know him, he's just very unique person, and has an authenticity and a way about him that I haven't really met with many guys in my years in the NBA, and I think already the players kind of gravitate to him, and I think the work that he's able to kind of get to on the court with them in a short amount of time is already kind of showing up.
Struble Roundtable Sports. Last season, Tyus Jones had one of the best assist-to-turnover ratios in the league. What can be said about bringing in a floor general of his caliber, and what can he do to keep defenses honest and help you guys out?
I think that each of the last 5 years you could have opened up with that sentence. I think he's led the league the last 5 out of the last 6 years in assist-to-turnover. I think that one of the things that we set out to do was kind of turn the corner this summer. We didn't want to get old, we didn't want to sacrifice like a long run, but adding IQ, adding poise, adding consistency, those were all kind of goals that we kind of like sprinkled into all of our draft and free agent considerations. And to bring in a guy like Tyus, who in addition to all of those elements that you stated on the court, is actually an amazing guy off the court as well. The reason that he plays like that on the court is because that's who he is off the court. And so, I think that, obviously that's on Coach Mose and all the guys in the locker room to, figure out how that all kind of shows up and helps us. But I do think that that'll be a valuable element to our team this year.
Jeff, you guys have a standard roster spot open. I know there's some financial limitations around when you can fill that, but what's the plan for that spot, and how do you approach that opening?
Yeah, we've talked a lot over the years about the financial compression that's coming at our team, and obviously you guys know we kind of put our foot on the gas a little bit this year. So we're up against the first apron. We are in a situation where we are going to carry 14 players. We're not able to add a player at this point. Around the middle of the season, when that gets aggregated into kind of the second half of the prorated salary, then we can start to look at minimum players at that level. So really, there's not much of a choice on our part. So we're going to go in with 14. And at some point in the season, we'll be able to look at adding if that's what we feel we need, and if that guy is available. So that's our approach this season. I mean, unfortunately, this is a situation a lot of teams find themselves in now, and I don't want to name names, but there's been a notable injury recently where the team is in pretty much the exact same situation that we're in, and they can't even replace that player with a minimum, because they're in the same situation that we are, and a few teams are now. So, that's part of the new landscape that we're all going to have to navigate.
We saw Franz, Tristan, and Goga play in Eurobasket. What did you see from them, and how valuable was that experience for all three of them, particularly Franz and Tristan going on and winning the gold medal?
Yeah, growth. I mean, I saw growth. I think we all saw it. it's so exciting to see young guys just continue to evolve when they're about all the right things. Obviously, Franz is able to explore, leadership elements and, carrying a team and what it means to be on that stage with that kind of pressure. It's all kind of just continuous breakthroughs for him, mentally, emotionally, understanding, the length of the season, the duration of those tournaments, those games come at you pretty quickly, And so I think it's great growth for all of them. I think to see Tristan, even within that tournament, grow as a player and get more comfortable and figure out like where his spots are going to be, it's I think reflective of his IQ and his understanding and ability to kind of slot in and help. And I think, Goga had a great summer. I thought he was really impressive. He's gotten bigger. He's like starting to when Goga came out in the draft, he was a shooter, and the league does funny things to you, so finding yourself and growing into that and, figuring out like how you can apply that. And I think that those are all elements that, you can work on in tournaments like that. And I think, hey, Georgia did stuff that they haven't done before. So I know he's really excited about their team and his summer, and, he looks good.
This is the third season for Anthony Black and Jet Howard. Where are they in their development plans, and what are your expectations for each of them this season?
Well, where they are in their development plans, they've both looked good in the last couple weeks, and they're both, I think, obviously very young, and I think their future is way in front of them. But, two different guys, two different skill sets. And so I think that each one of them is kind of like really had a great summer. And AB's looked really good in our open gyms and really, I think, starting to come into his own. But we have to remember, he's 21, and Jet, has also come back, grown up, matured. And those guys, I think these are obviously big years for them. They're, in addition to on the court, off the court, as you guys know, the timings. But I think, like, as far as what to expect from them this year, listen, one of the things that we set out to do this year was kind of turn the corner. And so we've talked a lot about the difficulty of kind of like running two races, trying to develop players as your kind of North Star and win games. And honestly, it hasn't always been easy. It's been a little bumpy sometimes, but that's just kind of like what you embrace when you go through that. I think this year, hopefully, we're kind of like turning the corner on that, and the guys that can help us win will play. So, I think this is a much different, perspective as we enter the season, and I think it's honestly simplified for a lot of our guys. If you're ready to help us win, you're going to get on the court.
Jeff, can you explain kind of how Wendell Carter's role in winning, how that's going to change this year with everything that's changing?
I mean, that's probably a great question for Coach Mose. As far as how the team wants to play, how the additions of Dez and Tyus and even our two rookies will impact the way that like the whole team is going to play differently, and what that means for each guy, and to your point, like what that means to Wendell. I mean, Wendell is just the ultimate kind of. I can tell you like that the league values Wendell highly, because Wendell does things that just don't show up. He eats up people's mistakes. He can deal with the physicality of moving guys in the post. He doesn't have to block a shot. He can kind of prevent the play from getting to where it has to get for them to get that shot. He can also switch out on wings and guards. And so, Wendell's just the ultimate kind of like whatever the team needs to win, he's there to do, And so, as to his specific role and how the coaches want to use Wendell this year, I think, we're gonna look to play fast. I think Wendell can play any style. He can guard anybody, and you can ask them more specifically how he'll slot into the offensive roles. But Wendell's like obviously a really important part of our team, and one of the reasons that we're excited about the season.
You're able to get the contract done with Paolo this summer. kind of locking him in as one of the key pieces for this team's future. What does it say about where he goes next and how he develops now that he has, kind of the max contract, all the things that come with that, the expectations, the pressure that come with that? Where does he have to grow, and what does he have to show, not necessarily to prove that he's worth it, but to live up to those expectations?
The best thing about Paolo is that's an easy answer. We got to win. We're paying these guys because we want to win. And Paolo knows that. If you were to ask him, that it's just like, it's an easy answer. I feel that, as I alluded to earlier, like when you say like these guys are 22, 23, 21 years old, you just anticipate growth. At some point, even a 29-year-old can get better, but not at the same pace that you expect these young guys to get better. And that's kind of what's exciting about our team, that a lot of our core guys are under contract for many years, and that they have the internal drive to win. Even if that means sacrifice, they're gonna work, they're gonna make each other better. But if it means sacrificing, they'll do whatever it takes to win. And so that's honestly the next step for all these guys. Ultimately, we can talk about shooting percentages or this or that. Ultimately, they all know that we're all going to be judged on winning.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks so much, guys.